Now, when we swing this club, if we allow our body to move and let the club, and I like to have on a full shot, we swing through and around and let the club touch you on the back of the neck, let your knee bend in, let your heel come up so that your weight ends up on your left side, or lead side, I should say. The reason you want to do that is we want the flow of this club going all the way through and around uninhibited. Because the minute you stop that flow, your hands, being the hinges that they are, is going to flip on you. And the minute they flip, it's going to change the angle of that club face. You're going to hook it, or you're going to lock it out and push it to the right. Nothing good's going to come out of that. But if you look at this swing, I'm going to try to do it, and Gary, tell me which way it looks like I'm swinging fastest. Pretty hard to tell, isn't it? Which way does a pendulum swing fastest? It's the same, virtually the same. And it doesn't matter what club. That was a wedge. This is an 8-iron. If I swing this club at a pace that is relatively even, back, down, through, and around, that gives me my best chance. And the reason it gives me my best chance to hit a good shot is when I'm swinging even, it's not in my mind to come down faster or slower. So what happens is I don't need a sudden change in grip pressure to push the club to go faster. Because the minute I change my grip pressure, trying to make the club go faster or slower, I'm flirting with over control. Even when I try to hit it harder, my brother says, "Really, let me see you hit this one hard." He says, "That looked like your soft one." Just what I wanted to hear. But anyway, this is a 6-iron. Once again, even. Back, through, and around. I try to be able to finish every swing in balance and with a finish on the back of my neck. The reason I like to do that is because my lead arm has to keep going to get there. I have to rotate my arms and hands over to get there. The rotation of my arm and hand together squares up the club. It de-lofts it. It creates speed. If there's no rotation, you don't hear any speed. I can't finish my swing with my arm going this way because it can't go any farther. And when it gets to here, and if it's got some speed, it pulls me up. So my swing would be like this. And anytime you see somebody with a swing like that, here's what it looks like. There is no finish to that swing. And it's usually going to the right because they're shoving the club at the ball. There's certainly no speed because the speed is in the rotation. No speed. So your arm and hand must rotate over, and the more they do it together, then you don't get this breakdown with your hand and wrist. That's what causes those wild hooks and slices. These hands and wrists working independently of your arm. If you keep them working together, you got a chance. When I swing all the way through and around, as I go through, I keep the flow of it going through. And I relax my body to allow it to follow the lead of my arms and hands. Specifically, my left arm or lead arm and hand. And it doesn't matter which club I use to do that. The swing with a longer club, same way, even. Back and down, the same speed. I don't hear about people complaining about slicing their wedge or having a hard time with a 9-iron usually. But I hear a lot of them about a 4-iron, a 3-iron, a 3-wood, or a driver. Because again, the club is farther away, there's less loft on it, it makes it much more difficult. Gary?
I think the question that Vicki asked, looking for the answer, is how do you get your left hand to be dominant?
Correct.
Now, from my own experience, I went through pull down on it. Well, I've learned that works for one day. Okay?
Right.
Pulling down doesn't work because it brings other factors into it.
Absolutely.
So what do you do to get that left hand to be dominant?
Ah, like I said, that was a very good question. And George threw me off here. It's all George's fault. Okay, I'll tell you what I did. When I was driving my car, and I used to do a lot of traveling, I would have a gripper that I was constantly squeezing while I was driving the car. I would dribble a basketball with my left hand with my right hand in my pocket. I would shoot it. I did so many different exercises, and I learned one thing. I could never make my left hand stronger than my right. But I could learn how to become aware. That was the key thing. Learning how to create awareness. Relax this one, become more aware of this one is how you do it. So if you are struggling with your path and which arm and hand is more dominant, look to your eyes, literally. Now, look at me. See how my shoulders are turned this way? My right arm is dominant. Look where my eyes are going, way to the left. Now look at me. My eyes changed everything right then and there. When I was an apprentice professional at Ocean Reef working for Bob Toski, my first year for him, he took me to the the first tee. And we stood there for 45 minutes, and he says, I'm going to tell you where every player is going to start their ball out and whether it's going to hook or slice. He was 100% for 45 minutes. And I said, okay, Kreskin, how'd you do this? He says, I looked at their eyes. When you see somebody stepping up and their eyes are like this, if you know somebody who excessively hooks the ball, look at how they look at the ball. Their eyes are telling them way inside out, go this way. Now what ends up happening is they're going this way, the target's over there, their brain gets this instant recognition, the fact that they're going to hit it out into the woods. So what do instinctively? They flip their hands over trying to hook it back. A hook is born. Now, somebody's like this, their eyes are this way, they're going to take the club out here, they're going to go this way. Well, they're certainly not going to roll over, so what do? They hold the blade open so it starts to the left and it slices back. A slice is born. So, my job as your teacher is when you come to me, the first thing I always look at is your eye line. But here's what I do now. When I set myself up, my head tilts this way. And you know where I got it? Watching Sam Snead, Bobby Jones, Jack Nicklaus, and Bob Toski. They all did it. Bob.
Jack Nicklaus at one time preached, watch the ball out of your left eye. Not turn your head, but just watch the ball out of the left eye.
Right, because what he did was he cocked his eye this, so his right eye was behind him. That's why the minute I started cocking my head, my dominant left eye started working for me instead of against me.